Hey guys, how are you guys doing? I hope well. Today we are going to be talking about some stages that you feel or you go through when you are on your healing journey and what that might look like for you. So, I am not going to waste a lot of time today. I'm just going to get right into our topic and we're going to start talking about healing. Before we do that, I want to ask you if you have yet to subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. I'll truly appreciate it as I am trying to grow this community out here. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Also, if you want to watch full video content of us, check out our YouTube page at Self Reflection Podcast by Lira Ndifon. I greatly appreciate it as well. Also, if you are not following me on here, please go ahead and hit that follow button. Follow me, comment, like, share our posts as well. Let's continue to grow this community. Let's continue to heal. I'm going to go ahead and start talking about self healing, right? When you are looking to go on a healing journey, or if you're someone that is looking to go on a healing journey and you don't know where to start, right? The first place that most people start from is becoming aware, right? When you become aware that, okay, something doesn't feel right, I don't feel good, right? I need to go on my healing journey. Or you continue to hear people on social media like, go on your healing journey, you know, this is where it starts from, right? Becoming aware. And when you become aware, you become aware of your old patterns, right? You notice the old patterns that that used to make you feel the way that you feel, right? You also notice what triggers you, right? What triggers your old wounds, what triggers you in now, right? Those are typically the things that allow people to go on a healing journey, right? Also, you get to acknowledge the wounds that you have been ignoring for a long time when it comes down to healing yourself, right? So when it comes down to healing, the first step is getting to acknowledge and become aware of the fact that you need to go on a healing journey. And in that space, you get to acknowledge the triggers, you get to acknowledge the patterns, right? And you also get to acknowledge the suppressed emotions that you have been suppressing for a long time. The second step that comes after that one is emotional release, right? This is the space where you get to uncover the buried emotions that you have been having, right? And some of the emotions that you might have been feeling or you are feeling in this moment if you are someone that haven't started a healing journey, right? Because we are all on different places or different stages on our healing journey. So if you're somebody that have yet to start the healing journey, right? Some of the emotions that you might feel once you begin to go on your healing journey is you might feel grief, you might feel sadness, you might feel anger, right? Also, you might feel hatred, right? You might feel betrayal, you might feel self-hatred as well, right? You might feel what is it? Shame, you might feel blame, right? So those are some of the emotions that you could experience in this space when you start to heal yourself. So whoever's watching this, if this is where you are on your healing journey, right? Like I said, we're all on different stages. Some people are just recognizing that, hey, I need to start healing. Some people have passed the awareness stage, the acknowledge stage, and now on the releasing stage where they're not feeling the anger, the hate, the frustration, right? If you're in this stage, those are the things you want to pay close attention to, right? You want to pay attention to what makes you upset, what makes you angry, what triggers you, right? You want to pay attention to the things that make you sad, to the things that make you feel uncomfortable, right? You want to pay attention to the uncomfortable emotions that you feel as well, because those are the feelings and emotions that you need to work on to begin to heal yourself, right? Because those are the emotions that are keeping you stuck in that emotional hole, right? In that emotional prison. Those are the feelings that are keeping you stuck where you are in this moment, right? Again, healing is a journey, it's a process, it requires time, right? It requires effort, it requires you to go on the journey over and over and over, right? Healing is something that cycle, right? You go over one cycle and then you go over another cycle, you go over another cycle. So just because you work on your anger doesn't mean that you're never going to get angry, right? Just because you work on Your sadness doesn't mean that you're never going to feel sad again, right? Just because you work on the emotions or the things that trigger you in your life doesn't mean that you're never going to get triggered in the future, right? You get better as you go. The next stage that happens after you facing that, after you release those emotions or you face that emotional burden in that space, is inner reflection, right? This is when you pull back from society a little bit, you spend time with yourself, right? You try to understand yourself, you ask yourself questions, about the experience that you experience that allow you to feel trauma. You ask yourself, questions about your belief system, right? You question your belief system, you question the things that have happened in your life. You also ask yourself about the role that you got to play in the healing process or in the traumatic process as well. Also, you gain clarity in this space because the more questions that you can ask yourself, right, the more clear you're gonna get with your healing. Many people don't go on healing journeys, or many people never start the healing journey because they never question themselves, right? Society has not programmed us to question ourselves. Society has not tell us that when you start your healing journey, you need to question yourself. You need to pressure yourself, right? That's not what society tells us. But if you are trying to get true clarity, if you're trying to get true understanding of who you are, if you're trying to get to the root cause of the problem that is triggering you, right? If you're trying to heal yourself from the root, right? You have to go into questioning yourself. You have to go into questioning your belief system. You have to go into questioning the things that are triggering you. You have to go into questioning what really is keeping you stuck in that emotional hold, right? So that's why self-reflection is so crucial and is so important, especially in our society today, right? Especially when it comes down to healing yourself. Because only you, right? Only you can heal yourself, right? No matter how many times you go see a therapist, no matter how many doctors you go see, right? No matter how many life coaches you go and visit, no matter how many psychiatrists, whatever, counselor, right? Juju, Baba, no matter how many people you go to visit about your healing, right? Only you can heal yourself. And I'm not going to say that those people cannot help you, because I too myself, I'm a self-reflection coach. I'm not going to say that coaches don't help, therapists don't help, counselors don't help. That's not what I'm saying, right? Because those people guide you, support you on your journey, right? Maybe bring new ideas. They push you to question yourself, right? Those people, that's what the role is in your life when it comes down to your healing journey, right? But when it comes down to the true actual healing process, right? The actual healing itself, only you can do so, right? Only you can heal yourself. And that's why in the Bible, God said, you can only get to my Father through me, right? Meaning that you can get through God through yourself because you are a part of God. I know that part of the scripture always get twisted. I don't even know how Bible came into this, but it plays a key crucial role, especially for all my Christians out there, right? The Bible plays a key role when it comes down to our healing, right? And it gets misinterpreted all the time, right? At least from my perspective, right? Because only us have true access to God, right? Only us can find healing for self, right? So when you go on your healing journey, do a self-reflection moment, right? And this is a constant thing. Again, it happens over and over and over, where you have to go within self and question yourself, right? And the more questions you ask yourself, the more questions are going to show up. And that's the beautiful part about healing, right? The more questions you ask yourself, the more questions you're going to find, because that is the cycle of life, right? Because nobody knows the beginning and the end. That's the reality of life, right? Nobody knows the beginning and the end. So what is really understood in life is all that is questions, right? We can only continue to ask questions and ask questions. And the more we ask questions, the more we discover. And that's the same thing with ourselves, right? When you ask questions about yourself, right, the more you discover as well. I kind of went into a little bit detail in that part. right? But in this moment, I also want to remind you that I will be hosting a inner child healing workshop on August 23rd from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you are available, if you want to go on an inner child healing journey, if you want to start your healing journey, right, this workshop is for you. I will be going into details on how to heal yourself from that perspective, right? I will be showing you and giving you tools, practical tools in that workshop for you to connect with your inner child. Many of us in our society today don't have a relationship with our inner child, and that's why healing sometimes feels unbearable, right? Because many of us, when we go to our therapists, right, and all of these other people, right, oftentimes they don't really go deep into that place of your healing, right? We just want to go from here. But what we're going to do in this workshop is we're going to go back to the root cause of that trauma or that moment that felt uncomfortable as a kid, right? And then you're going to go from that perspective and heal yourself from there, because that is where the true healing happens, right? That's where the true healing happens. So if you're available on August 23rd, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, please join me on this workshop. Let's heal. The link is going to be on my bio. So go ahead and click the link, register for it. The next thing I want to talk about when it comes down to breaking the cycle of healing or going on your healing journey is actually breaking the cycle when you go on your healing journey. This is when you break the bad habits, right? The habits that have kept you stuck in that emotional chokehold. Let's say, for instance, you're somebody that is depressed, right? How do you break away from depression, right? This is when you get to realize the patterns, the structure that you have been holding yourself in that depression, and you break away from that cycle, right? You recognize that every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is I look at my phone. I stay on my phone for 4 hours, and then I go into my kitchen. I eat the most horrible food that I can find in my kitchen, and then I go back on my phone and I go and I sit and I think about all the traumatic things that have happened to me. I start to feel sorry for myself, right? I start to feel, not only empathy, but I start to belittle myself. I start to talk down to myself. I call myself all kind of names, right? You recognize those patterns in this space and you break away from that cycle, right? And how you break away from it is implementing something different, right? Putting something different in that space, right? So the next thing is also you break away from toxic relationships, right? Whatever it's your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, friendships, family members as well, right? You break away from them. And even if it's just for a day, for a month, for 2 years, right? Depending on how long you need that space to heal, right? You break away from toxic relationships. So many of us in our society today are so afraid of leaving the relationships that feel comfortable, right? But growth doesn't happen in comfortability, right? Growth doesn't happen if you stay in that same space and be comfortable, right? Growth happens when you're uncomfortable. Growth happens when you push yourself, right? Healing happens when you go against it and there's friction, right? That is when healing happens. And it's the same thing here. When you're looking to break the cycle of your toxic behavior, when you're looking to break the cycle of, your trauma, right? You have to face it head on and breaking away from toxic relationship. And sometimes this toxic relationship could be with yourself, right? We oftentimes think about toxic relationship as if it only has to, include someone else, or it always have to include somebody else. No. Sometimes we have toxic relationships with ourselves, right? The way we talk to ourselves, right? Some of us call ourselves the worst names that we can find on this planet Earth, right? The type of toxic relationship that we have with food, the things that we put in our body, right? That is a toxic relationship with yourself, right? What you do with yourself. Do you nourish yourself? Do you exercise? Do you give yourself all of these things that your body needs, right? That is a toxic relationship, right? Do you go ahead and look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh, I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not this enough. I want to change all of this with myself, right? that is a toxic relationship you have with yourself, right? Oftentimes we don't look at it from that perspective, but sometimes we are our own biggest bullies, right? We are the ones that give us the biggest torment in this world. So toxic relationships sometimes can be with yourself, and sometimes you need to choose yourself, right? Sometimes you need to be hard with yourself and tell yourself enough is enough. I'm not going to take you disrespecting me. I'm not going to take you belittling me. I'm not going to take you talking down to me. You have to say those things to yourself sometimes, right? And you have to remind yourself, like, enough is enough. You're not going to have this type of relationship with yourself. Because I'm going to say this before I move on. The type of relationship you have with yourself is the type of relationship you're going to tolerate in this world, right? The type of relationship you have with yourself is the type of relationship you're going to tolerate with your partner, right? So if you have a toxic relationship with yourself, you're going to have one with your partner, right? Because that is what you're going to project. If you are insecure with yourself, if you have an insecure relationship with yourself, you are going to have an insecure relationship with your partner, because that is the type of relationship you will project out there, right? So toxic relationship don't always have to mean that there's somebody else in the picture. It starts with self. Everything in this life starts with self, right? If you want healthy relationship, it has to start with self. And sometimes that means setting healthy boundaries, right? The next thing now, when it comes down to healing here, is you reconnect with yourself, right? You find yourself again. You discover yourself when you go on your healing journey, right? You build a healthier relationship, which allows you to reconnect with your values, right? You reconnect with your purpose. You reconnect with your authentic self. And also, you reconnect with your inner child, right? One of the biggest relationship you can have in this world is with your inner child. That is the most important relationship you can have in this world. The relationship you have with your adult self right now, and the relationship you have with your inner child. Those are one of the best and the most important relationship you can ever have, because the type of relationship you have with your inner child is the type of relationship you will have with your adult self. If you have a toxic relationship with your inner child, you will have a toxic relationship with yourself, right? If you are functioning from a wounded inner child perspective as an adult, that is how you are going to show up in the world, right? You're going to show up from the wounded child perspective. And that's why in today's society, you see that a lot of people in our today's society can, when they I'm going to use this example, I use this example often, but when you look at women on the baddies, right, and all these women on reality TV show, right, they easily get triggered because they have so much inner child wounds that they have not dealt with yet, right? So when someone says something, even if it doesn't connect with them, they are easily triggered, right? They're easily triggered because they're functioning from a wounded perspective. They're functioning from an inner child perspective. They are grown women, but yet their inner child controls most of their behaviors. And that's why you see them spazzing out every single second. That's why you see them spazzing out as soon as someone says something. They're emotional, like they don't know how to control their emotions because it is a child that is functioning in an adult body, right? So when you begin to go on your healing journey, you will reconnect with yourself. And reconnecting with yourself meaning reconnecting with your inner child, aligning yourself with your with your purpose, your values, your morals, your ethics, right? Because those are the things that allow you to heal. And the reason why those are the things that allow you to heal, because you're not only healing the physical body, but you're also healing the spiritual body as well, which is something that most of the time people don't talk about it, right? Therapists and psychology never used to talk about this. Now they are starting to implement the spiritual aspect of healing in therapy, but most of the time it doesn't really happen, right? However, right, when you work with somebody that also incorporate the spiritual aspect of your healing, right, that is when you get to align yourself, right, with your higher consciousness, your higher purpose, right? You see yourself from a different light, you know. The second to the last thing I'm going to talk on here is self forgiveness and forgiving other people, right? When you go on your healing journey, forgiveness have to come in play. There is no way around it. There's no way you can heal yourself without forgiving, right? Whatever it's forgiving yourself, forgiving the other person, forgiving the situation, right? There is no way you can heal yourself. I'm going to say that again, without forgiveness, right? You have to learn to forgive, because with forgiveness comes empathy. With forgiveness comes compassion. With forgiveness comes openness. With forgiveness comes freedom. With forgiveness comes love, right? And those are the things that make you feel whole as a human, right? Those are the things that nourish the body. Those are the things that allow you to feel as if you are making a stride, right? Forgiveness is the key in your healing journey, right? Forgiveness is the key. You have to learn to forgive, because when you don't forgive, right, you give away your power. What if giving to the next person, or you're giving it to a thing, right? Or you're giving it to a thought? You give yourself, or you give the power away, right? The power that you're supposed to have for yourself, you give it away. But when you forgive, right, what if it's forgiving you, right? You take back your power. That's what forgiveness does. When you are able to forgive yourself, or forgive another person, or forgive a situation, you feel free, right? You feel free, not because it wasn't painful, not because it didn't happen, not because you are the nicest person in this world, but because you are reclaiming back your power. That is what forgiveness does. Forgiveness is a key part to healing. So if anyone is out there that is on the healing journey and you have yet to hit the space, because I know people always, I've seen videos, or I've seen people talk about, oh, I don't have to forgive somebody. You're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving for yourself. You're forgiving other people for you, right? You're forgiving them so that you can move forward. There is so much power in forgiveness. There is so much healing in forgiving yourself, or somebody else, or a situation, right? There is so much that comes with you letting go in that space, So if you're on your healing journey, I want to encourage you. Forgive if you haven't done so. Forgive not because you want to be a nice person. Forgive not because you want to, say, oh, I did it, right? Forgive not because you want to look a certain way. Forgive so that you can heal yourself, so that you can move forward, so that you can let yourself heal, so that you can love yourself from the most purest, authentic place. That's what forgiveness is going to do. The last thing I'm going to talk about here is empowering yourself, right? Once you go through all the mud, right, of recognizing that you need healing, of also breaking away from the toxic cycle, also coming through with releasing emotions, right? When you break away from all of these spaces, right, and now you start to grow self-trust, grow self-love, right? You empower yourself from this perspective, right? When you're healing is a beautiful journey. Healing is a beautiful thing, right? Imagine that every single person in this world went on a healing journey. Just imagine if every single person on this planet went on their healing journey, how beautiful this world would be, right? Because when you go on your healing journey, you recognize the connectiveness of which we all share, right? You recognize that we all share a global consciousness, right? You recognize that we are all intertwined. We all connect with one another, right? When you go on your healing journey, you recognize the power of collective work, of togetherness, right? When you heal yourself, you recognize that you are just as important as anybody else. You love yourself from a pure, authentic place. When you go on a healing journey, right, and you get to that space where you are now confident with who you are, you're not sure with who you are, right? You have learned to set boundaries, right? You now walk in your purpose. You now work with your higher self. You now go into the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and you get to live from that place, right? You recognize that you're not your thoughts, you're not your experience, you're not what happened to you, right? You're not your trauma, you're not your insecurities, you're not your low self confidence, you're not what people say about you. Right? When you heal yourself, you recognize that you are just who you are. You are I am. You are part of God. You are part of the greater consciousness. Right? You recognize that and you live from that perspective. And of course, I'm not going to sit and act like life doesn't get challenging as well. It does get challenging. Even when you become the most peaceful human ever, right? Life will still throw curveballs at you because that is part of the journey. Because we're always evolving, we're always growing, we're always learning, right? The thing is with healing is when you hit one level, right, you get a new challenge that push you to the next level. When you hit that level, you get another challenge that push you to the next level. When you hit that level, you get another challenge that push you to the next level. That is the beautiful thing about healing, right? You're always healing. When you heal one level, you go up. You heal another level, you go up, right? That's the beautiful thing about healing. So again, I want to encourage all of you, if you have yet to start your healing journey, please seek it. It is beautiful. Healing gives you a wealth that money can never give you. Healing gives you a wealth that status can never give you. Healing gives you a fame, an internal fame that society can never give you, right? Healing gives you joy, happiness, that nothing in this world can ever amount to it, right? Healing gives you peace of mind that you could never get from any person, any place, or anything, right? There is a certain light that emerges through you and from you when you go on your healing journey. So if you have yet to start your healing journey, I will be hosting an inner child healing workshop on August 23rd, Pacific time, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Join me, let's heal. The link is in my bio. Healing is such a beautiful thing, right? When you are able to go through it, because it's painful. It's not easy. There's going to be days that you cry yourself to sleep. There are going to be days that you look at yourself like, how dare you? Right? There are going to be days that you feel depressed, you feel sad, you feel overwhelmed. There are going to be days that you feel as if you cannot go through another day again. That is how healing works. It's not, sunshines and rainbows. No. Healing is painful. It's challenging. But the reward is far greater than any pain you can feel. Right? So, go on your healing journey if you haven't. If you can't make this workshop, right? Continue to follow Self Reflection Podcast. I will keep putting out amazing content like this, right? To continue to encourage us to keep healing. I will continue to put out healing content. I will continue to support us, to motivate us as best as I can. As much as the people around me, right, are encouraging me, as much as you are encouraging me daily to keep going on this healing journey, that is the same commitment I have for you. You know, I'm excited for this journey that we're going to have, right? I'm excited for this workshop. I'm excited to continue to do this. You know, also, if you are someone that is looking for a self reflection coach, right? You are looking to have a one on one coaching session, right? Reach out to me, send me a DM. Let's book a coaching call. Let's see if you and I are even a great fit to work together, right? Because I just don't want to work with anyone just because I want some clients, right? And also, you just don't want to work with anybody, right? It doesn't matter if it's me, you know, it does not matter if it's me, right? You want to work with somebody that aligns with you. You want to work with someone that sees you, you, that values your morals, your ethics, right? You want to work with someone that aligns with your mission, your purpose, right? You want to work with someone that aligns with your energetic field as well. So, if you are looking for a life coach, or if you're looking to go on a healing journey and you don't know where to start, send me a DM. Let's see if you and I have any compatibility here or any alignment, right? And we'll go from there. You know, I am super excited to connect with you if this is a good fit, right? My mission or my goal here, or something that I enjoy doing and I'm passionate about, is supporting other people on their healing journey, because I know the benefit of it, right? I live this thing, man. You know, I live it. Sometimes, not to bring myself in this space, sometimes I'm going through like the most difficult things in my life. I'm going through a hardship, but I still have so much joy and so much peace, right? I still feel at peace in my mind and in my heart. You know, I still have days that I still smile, even though I'm going through something that could break somebody, right? I still find myself at peace. Not because it's not challenging, not because I'm not facing obstacles, not because, I'm a superwoman, right? It's because of the healing journey that I've been through, right? It's because I have found the God or goddess within me, you know, and that comes through pain, y'all. It wasn't easy. Healing is not easy. It comes through pain, because from that place you get to break away, and you see the light, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel, always, right? So again, if you have yet to subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. I'll truly appreciate it as we seek to grow our community out here. Also, if you are not following me on our social media, you can follow me at Lira, LIRA_NDIFON. Please go ahead and like, share, comment if you enjoy this content. Let's push out more positivity. Continue to be the best version of yourself that you can be. Right? Continue to empower this world. Continue to uplift this world. This world can use some happiness. This world can use some peace. This world can use some love. Right? So if you have a little bit of that, give it. I'm not saying exert yourself. I'm not saying burn out yourself. But if you have a little bit of love that you can let someone else borrow, go ahead and give it. I hope you guys enjoy this day. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you have a blessed day. And please do not forget to keep going on your healing journey. And I'm going to run down this list one more time, right? First steps when it comes down to healing is awareness, right? You become aware of the fact that you need to heal and you acknowledge that, right? The second step is emotional release, right? You go into the space where you're releasing anger, stress, depression, sadness, grief, right? You go into releasing all those stuck emotions that are holding you in the space that you're in, right? The next phase after you release those emotions is inner reflection, right? You go into questioning yourself, questioning your belief system, questioning the role that you got to play in that traumatic moment, right? So that you can gain clarity, right? Not so that you could ridicule yourself, but no, so that you can gain clarity. Now, from that perspective, you get to break that cycle, right? You go through breaking your bad habits. You go through breaking bad relationship, toxic relationship, right? Breaking away from unhealthy habits, right? You now reprogram the mind from that perspective by breaking away from those bad toxic cycle that you have put yourself in, right? Or that you found yourself in, because sometimes, we find ourselves in situations, right? The next thing that happens is you reconnect with yourself. You reconnect with your true authentic self, with your values. You align with your inner self, right? You align with your authentic self. You align yourself with your inner child, and you reconnect with your inner child, right? The second to the last thing that happens is you forgive yourself, and you have compassion for yourself. You have empathy for yourself. You connect with your higher self, right? Because forgiveness brings healing, right? That is the most beautiful thing about forgiveness, is because it brings healing. And the last thing is you begin to empower yourself, right? You walk with confidence, you talk with confidence, right? You understand that healing is a journey, it's a process, and you lead from that place, or you leave from that place, right? You understand that you're not perfect, but what you're trying is to be better. Right? What you're trying is not to repeat the same cycle, be able to break away from that emotional burden, right? By empowering yourself, by uplifting yourself, you know. So I want to encourage every single one of you guys, again, if you have yet to start your healing journey, go ahead and heal yourself. It's a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing because it allows you to build trust with yourself. It allows you to build your confidence. It allows you to live with purpose. It allows you to love, right? Not only love yourself, but love the world, you know. I hope that this conversation finds you in the best possible way that you receive it. And also, one more thing, I just want to encourage you, if you have yet to subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. I'll truly appreciate it. Also, again, I am now offering my coaching services. If you are someone that is looking to go on your healing journey and do not know where, oh, I'm so sorry, somebody's giving me a call. I don't know who's calling me. Sorry, guys. Okay, before I head out, I wanted to say, if you are somebody that is looking to go on your healing journey and do not know where to start, right, or don't know how to go on that healing journey, please go ahead, send me a DM. Let's work. Let's see if you and I have a good, we're compatible here to get on this healing journey together, right? Because you want to work with someone that aligns with you, right? You want to work with someone that sees you, that values you. You want to work with someone that values your morals, your principles, your ethics, right? You want to also work with someone that aligns with you. It is important. When you go on your healing journey, it is important to work with people that align with you, right? So if you're looking for somebody to work with you through that journey, reach out to me, send me a DM. I'll get back to you as soon as I see your message. I'm excited to work with you. I look forward to talking. I hope you have a blessed day. Take care of yourself, love yourself, be kind, and be gentle with yourself. Until next time. Bye for now. Happy Sunday, y'all. Y'all have a blessed one. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. You know what I'm saying? Have empathy for yourself. Have compassion for yourself. Right? Believe in yourself. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Trust that you can heal. Know within yourself that healing is possible. Right? And please do not forget to forgive. Forgive as many times as you need to, right? Forgive as many times as you need to. Love yourself. Remember, you're the most, you are the most important person on this planet. So love yourself.